In July of 1946, Talmadge's racially virulent campaign rhetoric adds fuel to the racial fires already burning in rural Walton County, Georgia.
I was working at the ice house, and some white people come there. They had guns, and had ropes. They had all those things down there, and they was in there showing how to make a loop on the rope or to hang a person.
On the afternoon of July 25th, 1946, Loy Harrison, a white man, was driving two black men and their wives home from Monroe, Georgia. Harrison had just bailed one of the black men out of jail, Roger Malcolm, who had just been arrested for assaulting his white landlord. The other black man in the car was Malcolm's brother-in-law, George Dorsey.
George came home from the Army in '45, and I met him way down the road down there and walked him all the way home. And he was telling me about being in the Army. He had some medals on. He was real proud of that.
At sunset on July 25th, 10-year-old Clinton Adams and a friend were playing by the river at Moore's Ford Bridge.
We seen Mr. Loy Harrison drove a big old black car, seen him go down the road. And didn't think nothing about it. About one car a day might go through there.
And when he got along this spot here, he didn't have access to the bridge because they had a car blocking the bridge. One car came up from behind. The mob, about 15 or 20 armed white men, came out of the woods and out of the cars that was parked down here.
And we seen them down there fighting with some white men. We didn't know what was going on at the time being, so we just laid down right beside the field there, right on the edge of it. And then we seen it was the Klans, because we knew some of them. And we said, they're gonna whoop them. Well, that's what the Klan done, whoop people, you know. And it doesn't matter whether you're black or white. If they take an oath and whoop your butt, you're gonna get one. And they tied up George's hands.
And once they started into the wooded area with them, Dorothy, from what Laura Harrison said, yelled out, "Don't kill him," and she called the name of one of the people that she recognized. Then the order was given to go back to the car and get the two young black ladies that was in the car.
And they pushed and shoved them and knocked them around. And all at once, these four guys, they just come up there and they pull guns and bang. And everything went into slow motion to me. And they started shooting, people standing up over them, shooting down on them, people were shooting in the trees, bullet was going every which way. They was on the ground, and I was shaking so bad till I couldn't move, I couldn't stay on the ground, I was just shaking that bad. And then when the shooting stopped, everything went silent, nothing, just quiet. And I stood up, and when I stood up, I was just like, you know, right there. And George, I knew him, I looked at him closest, I reckon, because he was my good buddy. And you could see the smoke and the air bubbling out, and their faces were just a mess. I mean, it was literally shot to pieces.
Malcolm and Dorsey's wives were both pregnant.
Dorothy was between 7 and 8 months pregnant. May was around 3 months pregnant. So we lost 6 lives at Moore's Ford that day.
I went over there and they were lying there and laying around, and I picked up a rope. I was a 22-year-old kid. And this man next to him said, "Son, let me have that." He jerked it out of my hand. And of course I gave it to him. But I looked over and and a pool of blood there and picked up a tooth and brought it back home and gave it to a friend of mine, and she put it on a good luck charm.
My partner and I covered the autopsy and we stood and watched this rather awesome experience where they had to use an axe to open up the chest, where they had to use these prongs to remove slugs and pellets from the body.
I went down to the funeral home and looked at them, and that was one of the wrong things I shouldn't have never done. They just swole up and beat up. It was just awful.
We obtained no help from the sheriff's department. We received no help from the local police department.
2 or 3 days later, the sheriff was asking Mama questions about it, and I was just sitting on the porch. And I said, I know who done it. Big mouth me on, let him know right quick. And he said, come here, boy. So I went over to him. And he said, I want to tell you something. He said, I can put some of these people in jail, but I can't put all of them. And if they found out you know what you know, it could come back on you, your mama, your sister, or your brother. And he said, the best thing you can ever do is never mention this again.
Rumors spread through the white community that 18-year-old Lamar Howard has told the police he had seen a mob gather at the ice house before the killings.
Next day, I went back to the ice house, and these 2 white fellas asked me, well, what'd you tell them? I didn't tell them nothing because I didn't know nothing to tell them. And then they kept on questioning, I know you told them. What did you tell them? You better tell me. If you don't tell me, I'm going to kill you. And he pulled the hammer back on that gun and pointed right in my face, about this close to you. And that bear looked like it was that big. But I still didn't tell him anything. I said, I don't know nothing, I can't tell you. And then they tried everything they could around there. Then one told the other one, he said, oh, let him go home. He don't know nothing, he don't know nothing. He said, now I'm gonna tell you, you go home, you don't stop to talk to nobody, and don't do anything, you go straight home. I have had nightmares. I would go to bed at night. I'd be scared somebody would come up there and get me. I even changed my name from Lamar Howard to Lamar Jones for a long time.
Although Loy Harrison was the FBI's prime suspect in the killings, no one was ever charged, let alone tried and convicted for the murders.
And I asked him, I said, Mr. Loy, I said, why did them people kill George and Doris? He said, well, before George went to the service, he was a pretty good nigger. But after he got out, he thought he was as good as any white man.